All right, guys. Well, it's time to get back to Baseball Stars action here. So we're just going to go ahead and go straight back into this. Let me go ahead and open this up. There we have it. Now, I will warn you here that I've been taking some notes. As I said before, I haven't gone into this game at all since last time, but I have looked a little bit at the video from last time. So you'll notice that when I click like over here on a different screen, then all the music stops and everything gets paused. It's because of the emulation. I did write down what the lineup was last time around. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because somebody was telling me, hey, you have some people on the bench who are pretty good defensively that you could put in. For example, we have Sally, who has like an 8 at defense. This batter D has a 9. That's a 7, it's okay, that's a 5, and that's a 2. So when it comes to like defensive options, we do have a couple of them, right? I'm thinking most concerned about the people playing third and short. So third base, we actually have Bad D1 playing third right now. That's what we had in the last game. This is a person we really need to replace. We need somebody to have a defensive rating of higher than 9 so we can have them play over there so we can like get rid of this person eventually. And then of course we have Linus playing shortstop. Linus has a 9 and has now hitting and batting both of 8. So we don't really want to take Linus out from the left side of the infield. We also don't want to take Bad D1 out, right? And that's the place where your defense really matters the most. Shermie has a defense only of 3, playing over at second base, so that's been part of the problem. This is probably the reason why we're having a hard time with double plays. The big question is, if we upgrade him again, do we worry about defense right now, or do we worry about upgrading everything else? And that leads to greater questions in the future, like, I mean, he's got a max potential of 72, so we want to max out the prestige. Do we just max out prestige first, right? Do we give him a little bit more hitting or something like that, right? Exactly how do we want to do this? Maybe he ends up being like a corner outfielder for us. That's kind of where I see his future. Lucy has a defense of 8, which is actually pretty good for someone who's playing catcher, right? We have similar questions about her. We're kind of going to max out probably her prestige first, and then we'll probably end up working on her hitting, batting, running. I mean, if we want to be true to the comic, we stick her in the outfield. Maybe we do that, maybe not. Pigpen we've been having playing first base because he has a defense of only 1, and there's a similar question here. Now his max is 77, so perhaps we can get the defense up to the point where he can actually play in the infield. So maybe we do that when we upgrade him. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different things to think about. And then Sally, like I showed you, has a defense of only 8. She has no hitting ability right now. What we really want to do in the beginning with her is we want to get some money so we can actually upgrade her. So we don't have enough money right now. So we want to give her kind of upgrades, and we definitely want to get the hitting and batting up at least a little bit, and that prestige as well. So that's kind of what the plan is right now, but you can let me know kind of what your thought process is. As it stands, though, I'm probably not actually going to use any of those players as late inning defensive replacements, because the positions that really need defensive replacements already have like our best defensive players. So that's kind of what the thinking is. Maybe it's good thinking, maybe it's not. Regardless of whether it's the best thinking in the world or not, this is kind of the world that we're stuck with. So there you have it. Now, as usual, when we play these games, I like to talk about things that are not just the game, so I can distract myself a little bit. The big news on this channel is that there's a video coming up that I've already edited. It should come out tomorrow about the Hall of Fame. A little bit of the history of baseball's Hall of Fame, and a little bit of sort of the history of this idea of whether somebody's Hall of Fame eligible, or not eligible, Hall of Fame caliber or not. So the truth is that, believe it or not, a lot of the players actually in the Hall of Fame are not really what you would consider to be Hall of Fame caliber players. And there are a lot of players in it that are guys who you don't really know are in the Hall of Fame, unless you're like, you know, really, really deep into the lore of the game and you happen to have all sorts of like guys' names memorized. For the most part, I would say you probably would be surprised to know exactly which players are in there. A big part of the reason why is because in the 1970s, the Veterans Committee, led by Frankie Fresh, started putting in a whole bunch of guys who were like, I mean, not necessarily star players, but somewhat well-known players from like the New York Giants and from teams like that. And so as a result of his sort of political, I guess you would call it, campaigning for certain players, we got a whole bunch of guys in the Hall of Fame that I think most of us would agree don't really belong. Funny thing about this is that there are a lot of guys who are in the Hall of Fame who are usually cited as not being great Hall of Fame type players, who had campaigns in the media going back a long, long time. So for example, it's kind of common knowledge that Frank Chance is not really a great Hall of Fame. He should have been out, come on. Frank Chance is not really like a great Hall of Fame type first baseman, right? That's one of those things. I don't think there's anybody who's going to tell you that Frank Chance, really should be, Hall of Fame type player. But if you look back through the history of reporting on the Hall of Fame and what sports writers have said over time, it makes sense why he ended up being inducted. And it's because, there wasn't like a letter writing campaign for him. Instead, there was like an article writing campaign, right? So there's an article by Grantland Rice, for example, that I sort of reprinted in, I think it's tomorrow's blog post, if I remember how I did this again. And Grantland Rice talks about how, so in 1945, nobody was elected to the Hall of Fame, and Rice wrote this article about how fame is fleeting and all this other stuff, right? Everybody cares about, like, what did you do for me yesterday and all that stuff. And so as a result, like, he would name some of the big players of the past that had not yet received baseball's highest honor. And foremost among those names was Frank Chance. And the argument at the time was, well, Chance did so well, against like Ty Cobb's Tigers and, all this other stuff, the World Series appearances of 1906 through 1908. And, the team also was very, very good in 1909, 1910 and stuff like that. They actually also had a good team in 1905. Right, and so, like, the argument generally was that, there needs to be some representation from this team, in the Hall of Fame. And that's basically, the reason why Frank Chance wound up in the Hall of Fame is because there was this major sort of campaign for him. And it wasn't sort of what we're used to in later seasons where you get like fans or relatives who are connected with this guy who are writing in about him. This was more like mainstream, well-known baseball writers who were talking about, Frank Chance being an important part of the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. So it's really interesting to look at. It's not quite what you expect. There's all this talk about, like, oh, if so-and-so gets in the Hall of Fame, the Hall is going to be tainted and stuff like that. But the reality is that the Hall of Fame is already pretty tainted because of the guys who are already in it, right? Like, believe it or not, like, there's a whole ton of guys in the Hall of Fame today who, really likely would never have gotten in today if they came up for election. It's just that people who are making these arguments don't ever really talk about that part, right? Now, I know that tomorrow, I believe it's tomorrow, or maybe it's today, is the day that they have the announcement of the latest members of the Hall of Fame. As usual, like, I didn't really plan this out very well, right? I should have come out with this video a week before, but that's kind of, the way that things kind of turned out. Anyway, that's sort of the way that is. We just don't have any speed. Anyway, we can't seem to buy a base hit. Anyway, so that's sort of the story and the talk about the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. The truth is that, like, the Hall of Fame is really intended, at least originally was intended, to be a place for people to sort of remember about the game, the history of the game, and all that stuff. And so from that sense, shoot, I shouldn't have swung at it. That was really bad. But in that sense, like, really, believe it or not, this channel and the things that we do here and my blog and all that other stuff, it's actually a pretty good sort of representation of the Hall of Fame and at least what it should be, right? You're thinking about, like, listening to old tapes or, CDs, recordings of, like, baseball, radio broadcasts and stuff like that, talking about, like, old baseball film, talking about, like, things like, great announcers and great sports writers and stuff like that. That's all really what the Hall of Fame was originally intended to be. It's supposed to be really like a living monument and a living museum for, the American pastime and all of that stuff. And so that's the way that you can kind of think of this channel. That's kind of what we do here. We take a look at, the real culture of baseball, the stuff that we all remember from our youth and stuff like that, and kind of go that way. I think one of the reasons why we keep losing, by the way, all of these, like every other game, is because we have pitchers like this guy on the mound every second game. He just has absolutely no stamina and is really driving me nuts. Especially since I'm not going to upgrade him, we're going to end up getting rid of him. But what we need to do is we need to worry about this hitting first. We got to start hitting a little bit better. Lucy didn't get credit for her inside the park home run. That's kind of a shame. We're going to have to talk with the official scorer about that one. She should have 1 home run, not 0. Anyway, so, you know, that's basically what's been on my mind recently in terms of, you know, channel stuff and all of that. Next week, we're going to finally do the video on RBI Baseball 2, now that I've forgotten everything about it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to do a little bit of research into Tengen and sort of like what was going on when that game was released and all of that stuff. I already know a lot of this. So when I was a kid, I read that book by David Sheff called Game Over, which is about the history of Nintendo. It was actually originally published to be a major criticism of Nintendo. It came out in 1991, 1992, something like that. Anyway, I read it a couple of times in the past, and so I'm pretty familiar with it and some of the arguments and stuff. It was actually when I read that book that I first realized that the Nintendo has, the original NES has a port on the bottom that is designed really for like a disk system or something like that, right? Because I never knew that as a kid. Yeah, there's a little contraption if you have one of the old style NES machines. There's a what is it called? It's like a cover or something on the bottom you can like lift up and you can access like, you know, at least some chipset or something like that within the machine. Because it was originally designed to be, you know, compatible with stuff like a disk system. They just never really put it out. Anyway, so I'm going to look through that. That book is really cool because it has a lot of information about the you know, Nintendo Tengen conflict in 1989, 1990, which of course is kind of the heart of RBI Baseball 2. I should have pinch hit for my pitcher last time he was up. I didn't even think about it. This is what happens when I distract myself. I end up forgetting that I'm playing this game, right? And end up thinking all about like video game companies that went out of business 20 years ago and stuff. Oh yeah, baby, woohoo! Boy, that was lucky. Usually it doesn't drop in. Here comes the big meat. So much for that. I gotta stop swinging at the first pitch. I know that, you know, people have been talking with me about this. When it comes to baseball strategy, I'm definitely a proponent for, you know, being patient. But when it comes to actually playing these games, I'm really, really impatient. And it kind of shows. So this is what we're going to do. This is the New Year's resolution. We got to be more patient when we play Baseball Stars. But we can't do that now, can we? That was almost too close to take, and sometimes they call those outside pitches strikes. Oh, that didn't do anything, did it? So much for that. Whoop. Oh, there's less than 2 out? I thought that was it, because he just sort of stood there and forgot about everything. Well, I mean, I sacrificed that runner at first. I kind of had to do it. Otherwise, he was going to be a dead duck at the plate. If they had thrown home, they might not have thrown home. Anyway, so yeah, coming up next is going to be the video about RBI 2, and then after that, then we're going to get back. We're going to talk about baseball cards in 1982. I've been planning for that video now for like all 4 weeks or 3 weeks or however long it's been. That's going to be a lot of that's going to be a lot of fun. Almost as much fun as throwing home when I meant to throw to first. It's a little bit embarrassing, and it's only better when you realize that you're doing this on YouTube for, you know, a nation of millions to watch. I guess it's not really that big. There's only like, oh, hey, we turned a double play. How about that? Oh, somebody needs to clip that. That's got to be a short. We finally turned a double play. I was gonna say, we only have like, you know, a couple hundred people to watch this, but you never know. I mean, you know, as we keep growing and as we keep getting the gang together, I bet there will be more, right? There's got to be a big like Peanuts fan contingent out there that just wants to watch Baseball Stars all day. I know there's got to be a lot of overlap in that fan base, right? Anyway, so when it comes to baseball cards in 1982, the big emphasis that we're going to have is... I got another pickle. All right, that was good. The big emphasis that we're going to have is going to be first on the Topps Kmart series, which is basically the reason why I consider 82 at least to be junk wax, because there's a bajillion of these out there and everybody's forgotten about them. So that's going to be a pretty interesting part of that video when we come out with that. Topps Kmart 1982 is a really, really, really bad set of cards if you've never seen it before. And chances are actually pretty good that you own one and that you might not realize that you own it, because there's a lot of these sets out there and, you know. Oh, come on! Oh, man. Like I said before, I'm going to have to start playing Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball again so I can get the batter yelling at the ump. It's the best part of the game. Why would you want to hit the ball when it's more fun to strike out and have your guy break the bat over his knee? Come on, Tyrone. I wonder who came up with these names for the English version of this game. So if you play the Japanese version, there are all sorts of cool names, especially on the team that's America Dreams. They have a whole bunch of like random names of like famous people who are like English speakers as if they were all American. They're not even all American names. It's pretty funny. Shoot, I was hoping to catch him trying to go to second, but that didn't work out the way I thought it would. Oh man, that's an awful throw. That's an awful throw from the relay man. I was planning on that play to cut that off, thinking that we would have a chance. Yeah, we might need to improve the defense in this team at least a little bit, because some of the throwing speed from some of these guys is pretty bad, especially there at second base. I mean, Shermy, man, you gotta do a better job throwing than that. That's alright though, we got out of it. Alright, so far so good. Yeah, the next big video on baseball cards will be that 1982, shoot, why did I do that? The 1982 season in baseball cards. Aside from the ridiculousness of the Kmart cards, there's a bunch of other cool stuff going on that year. Donruss had its really like first good-looking card set. There was the Fleer card set that everybody remembers for years, like the Cal Ripken Jr. Fleer card was pretty iconic. But the Fleer set's kind of ugly. The photography is pretty bad. And then there's Topps as usual. Topps had that kind of weird like hockey puck design, or I'm sorry, hockey stick design. So some people like it, some people don't. I'm kind of indifferent to it. Anyway, it's a pretty cool year. It's still like in the sort of early stages of the baseball card boom, so there were not like necessarily a million different companies making sets. It's not like it would become. That's actually the part I'm kind of looking forward to as we go up through each year, because when we start hitting like the 90s, that's where you start seeing these years with a bunch of sets that I've honestly never seen before and I've never paid attention to. So I'm interested to see sort of just what comes out of that. See, that's why you want to get your hitting and batting up so you can hit balls like that. We weren't hitting that before. Exactly what we wanted to do. There we go. Got the double. Scored a bunch of runs, 7-1. Alright, there we go. Now we're getting the batter's eye. You see that ball curve though, man? That's a crazy curveball. I swear, he's throwing a spitball. I wanted for a little while to do a video on the spitball. I haven't found enough, you know, like Gaylord Perry clips or anything like that, so I don't know. I don't know if it'd be feasible or not. I love that, and they just concede third base, right? They had a chance, but they decide not to do anything about it. The other thing to look out for is, I don't know if I'll end up doing it today. I think I might not have enough time, but we're going to continue the 1955 World Series using Replay Baseball for the few of you who watched that. That one actually doesn't have a whole bunch of views. That tends to get maybe 100 views if I'm lucky. But it's a lot of fun. When that's done, how was that a strike? When that's done, I'm going to end up doing a long term. I'm going to end up doing kind of a major replay with Replay Baseball to shoot. That you should probably watch out for. So that'll be another thing sort of look out for on the channel, kind of and as a like kind of a long-term type project. What I'm thinking about doing, and it's not just on this channel, I'm thinking about doing a lot of stuff where, you know, we look at we do like replay type projects, but we're going to look at every single game like as it was in real life. So as you know, I have a whole bunch of access to like, you know, old newspaper stuff and stuff like that, so we can do a little bit of research and kind of, you know, kind of cover that together. I'm just trying to think of ways to make that type of project something that's a little bit more engaging for people who might not really know kind of what, you know, the world of replaying and stuff is all about. So look for a lot of that coming in the near future before too long. It's probably not going to be quite as entertaining as this, but you never know. I mean, you know how this is. This is real. Oh, shoot, that's going to be a home run, isn't it? This is really, really engaging. Oh, look at that. We ended up catching in the end. There we go. Go to the top of the 8th. 8-1, so we're doing okay. I got to get this bum out of there, though. All right, we're going to let her have her first time at bat. Look at how she holds the bat. I mean, she's like too small to even like be able to hit. That's probably the best that we can do, and she's really, really slow, so she's going to get thrown out at first base. But that was really close. All right, it's okay. That's her her debut, but she's going to get better as time goes on. Okay, now we got to go back. We got to relax ourselves again and not swing at every pitch. I'm surprised it wasn't a catch. That's like one of those plays from, what game was it where we kept seeing that happen? Was it I Love Softball or something like that? No, I'm sorry, it was Major League Baseball. That's right, LJN's Major League Baseball. I know what's his name's going to come over and is going to mention that I mentioned that game again, because I supposedly mentioned it in every video, but that's one of those where it looks like it was caught and it ends up not being ruled a catch. We need to put instant replay in these games. Alright, here we go. Home run, pig pen. Let's get this game ended early. Or just do that. Ground into a double play. It would have been a triple play if there was nobody out. This is great. This is just like Charlie Brown, isn't it? Right? Even if you do something right, it's just not quite right enough. Oh, I'm glad that he decided to run over to his right instead of running to his left. That's pretty good. See, that time it was a catch. I don't know why it wasn't a catch the other time. I mean, I'm not going to complain we got a base hit out of it, but, you know, it would be nice to have a little bit of consistency. Alright, well, I guess we can't force them into forfeiting. See, somebody was asking, you know, when is it that we're going to start playing against other teams? I think we're going to wait until we can, you know, start, like, easily forcing this team into, you know, the 10-run forfeit rule. We're not quite there, but with some of these players we are. So like with Linus, we're getting to that point. I guess there was no way for me to avoid being tagged out, but at least we bought some time. So anyway, with the Replay 1955 World Series, once I'm done with that, we're going to do the 55 World Series with Out of the Park Baseball and with Stratomatic, and then probably also with Skeetersoft MP3. That was the plan. The original idea was to do it all in December, and now it's looking like maybe if I'm lucky we'll be done by late February, because it really does take a lot of time to finish those games up. I mean, yeah, it's fun. I like playing it, but it takes like... Yeah, it takes probably, the videos are like, you know, 40, 45 minutes long, you know. It takes quite a bit of time, and then I've got to like render it and do all of that before it goes on. So that's the reason why I didn't do it yesterday. I probably won't have time today either. Tomorrow though is looking pretty good, just as long as I can get everything else sort of done and sorted away. then we'll be all right. All right, there we go. I know somebody was saying they don't like it when I do stuff like that, but you know. Yeah, we got to get this guy out so we can get our closer in. That's how you use the bench. There's a whole bunch of other baseball games that we need to play as well. And I'm trying to sort of decide the best way to do it. I think that what we're going to end up doing is I'll do like some sim stuff and some, you know, sort of playing around stuff like this. My guess is that once we're done with this project, then we can have maybe time to do another big project with something else or something like that. At some point in time, though, we will need to play other games. Like once this RBI Baseball 2 video is done, for example, I'll probably want to do something on RBI 3. That was a great play, by the way. That was Linus making an excellent play. Maybe we should keep him this short. There you go, and there's your ball game. Anyway, so one little step at a time, but we're definitely going to do this series for the long term. 9-1 victory. We got 20 hits. We're getting there. It's still not all that easy, but at least we're not giving up home runs, and at least silly stuff isn't quite happening. 37,000. So now we get to go to the fun part, which is figuring out how we're going to spend it all. You don't want to spend it all at once. There are a couple of guys we probably could get rid of, but I do think that what we want to do first of all is we want to make a couple of improvements to some of these players. I'm trying to think of who we want, but we probably want to power her up. 5 points, good. So I'm going to do this. I don't know if it's what everybody recommends doing, but this kind of maxes her out. So now she's up to 20,000. He's up to 20,000. He's up to 25,000. He's up to 20,000. I think what we do is this. We power him up so we get a little bit more prestige. Then we're going to go and just power her up. And what we'll do is we'll do 2 of those and then 2 of those. We can buy another one. So we'll do 1 of those and 2 of those. We can do 1 more. Boy, that's not what I wanted to see, but it's alright. We can do it like that. So her hitting is still probably not going to be good enough to get her into the lineup. I'm thinking about here is this guy. So she's hitting 3, batting 3, running 4. He's hitting 5, batting 5, running 4. But she's got better defense. I don't know. I mean, like, maybe we put her in the lineup next? I don't know. You can sort of tell me in the comments what you think, and we'll think about that. If all else fails, we'll wait another day. It's only 8,000 to upgrade her, so I think she's going to end up being our next big project, right? Once we're done with everything else, right? And these guys are all to the point where, like, you know, it's going to be like, so if we win the next game, or when we win the next game, like, let's say we upgrade Lucy one more time. I can't remember if 15 or 16 is the max for prestige. I think it is 15. So let's say that we upgrade her and we, like, give her the money and batting and all that other stuff, and then we have a little bit extra. We upgrade Sally, like, maybe once. You know, that should get her probably, if we're lucky at hitting and batting, to go up to 4. Upgrade her like once or twice, and then you can get it to the point where we can get rid of this person altogether. Her prestige is the same. She just doesn't have that luck, but we'll worry about luck probably last of all. You know, and then we can get her in the lineup and then get rid of this person, and then after another one we can get another one and put another name in and all that other good stuff. So anyway, there you go. That's kind of what the plan is so far. I don't know, maybe it's a good plan, maybe it's a bad plan. You know, you guys can let me know what you think over in the comment section. But there you have it. Thanks as always for being part of this, and I'll talk with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.